It is Christmas time, Bebo style. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's Peach Tea. We're at episode 42. So, yeah.
42. Do you know who else is 42, Ed?
Who else is 42?
I am 42.
You're 42.
You are 42.
I will be next Wednesday.
Are you?
I got a little more time.
That's right. I forget you're a bit younger. That's right.
Slightly. Listen, I got to hold on to what I got.
Hey, enjoy it. Look, your youth flies by. Enjoy it while you can.
For the last couple of days, yes. So thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. As always, whether it's on the Facebook stream or if you're joining us on Twitter, YouTube, or the audio-only version, or Instagram, wherever you're finding the show, thanks for joining us. Well, there you go. For those who did check it out, who watched it this week, CW had a Christmas special of Bebo Saves Christmas on Wednesday. And that was the intro music that we went with this week, because how many times are we going to open with Bebo singing anything?
I think rare. This might be it. This might be the only chance. Exactly.
So I'm like, we gotta jump on it while we can. So
yeah, agreed.
Plus, listen, it's December, man. We're in the spirit. Hanukkah's rolling on now. We got Christmas coming up. Hawkeye has got us very much in the Christmas spirit. They've kind of jumped the gun on all of the Christmas movies and stuff like that. Hawkeye was the first one out of the box, so
it's true.
Yeah, we got it going here. So
I wonder if in 20 years from now, people are going to be having arguments. Yeah, that Hawkeye show is a Christmas show, like they do Die Hard, you know?
I wonder, where are you, by the way? So I don't know if we've ever talked about it, but where are you on the Die Hard Christmas movie or not?
It's a movie that takes place during Christmas. I wouldn't say it's a Christmas movie in the sense of like we normally think Christmas movies. It revolves around the holiday, but I mean, the setting is during Christmas at a Christmas party. I mean, so I think there's some blurry lines there. There's some blurry lines.
My whole we did a Christmas show last year, me, Farachi, and Tim, and I think Eric jumped in at some point and everything like that. And we were talking about like all our favorite Christmas movies, and I made the entire case for Die Hard.
Nice.
So I'm not going to rehash that whole thing here because we got our show to do. But the short version is pretty much Christmas plays a huge element in Die Hard. That it's why John McClane is at Nakatomi Plaza to begin with.
Very true.
There is the whole sweatshirt of, ho, 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 now I have a machine gun. There are reasons that Christmas pushes some of the events that happen. Not all of them, obviously, because that would be insane. I'm not saying that.
Yes.
I'm not making that case. My point is Christmas does play a hand in it. And then I also made the case that Home Alone is the, PG version of Die Hard.
Okay.
If you want to hear more about that, you can watch that episode again because I'm not going to go through that whole thing again. I admit we were drinking during that show. It was a lot of fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm
I
going to
thought
check
I had
that
a
out.
solid case. I thought I had a solid case there. All right. So we got people chiming in. Jonathan, the whole plot revolves around a Christmas party. If there was no party, security would not have been laxed. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate it. That's part of the argument. I put it this way. I watch it on Christmas Eve every year. That is my last movie for it. So whatever. Listen,
that's why I say I think there were blurry lines. I didn't say it wasn't. I'm just saying that I think there's an argument to be made, which you guys actually already have made, and you've won your point. So I guess it's a Christmas movie.
Some people might tell us to go fuck ourselves. Who knows? I don't know. There's no Santa Claus or whatever. But
you know what? In the spirit of giving, I'm going to say Hans Gruber was Santa Claus.
I like that.
For himself and his people, sure, not for everyone, but Hans Gruber was Santa Claus.
Yeah, he had his list. He checked it twice. He wanted to get them out of prison and stuff like that.
Exactly. Whether they were naughty or nice.
Uh-oh. All right, so Farachi's checking us out. Sounds like we need to have a second annual Christmas show. Farachi, I'm sure Jason would love to be a part of that because Granny's didn't start until January. So
yeah,
Jason,
so I wasn't part of the network.
Yeah, so now that he's on, maybe we can do another Christmas show. Maybe Jason, maybe Jeannie wants to get on and stuff like that. You can get some of the new cats in here. I mean, and get their opinions on it. instead of hearing me and Tim go back and forth about all of that.
I'm game for that. I'd love to talk about my favorite Christmas movie, which is Bill Murray's Scrooged.
I did bring up Scrooge. I went to bat for Scrooge as well, and
Nice,
I didn't get much
nice.
of a pushback on that one.
Well, I mean, that's obviously a Christmas movie.
Yeah, there was no pushback on that. Jingle All the Way, of course. You know the ones I was probably rolling out there. I mentioned Lethal Weapon, of course. All right, that's enough of the Christmas movies. Farachi's driving. Yes, number 42. This is our Jackie Robinson episode. So we're we're here. We're making statements now. This year I'm going to take an intermission. Yeah, that was a long Christmas show. That went on for quite some time. And Jonathan Hamilton loves Scrooge as well.
Great movie.
It is.
The bitch hit me with a toaster. Great line.
I love it. I think that was made last year. May have been the first time Angie actually saw Scrooge.
Really? What did she think?
She liked it. She was into it. Yeah, and then she kind of conveniently found something to do during Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
you know my love for Arnold, so I
understand that.
I have to. I have a deep love for Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's my guy, man.
We all have those actors that we just have to support blindly, no matter what. And as long as it isn't Jeffrey Jones, you're good.
Junior sucks. So whatever.
I've never seen.
Junior's bad, and The Sixth Day is horrible too.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
It's like if Total Recall sucked, it would be called The Sixth Day.
Yes, that's a great point.
It's kind of what I've always said.
Total Recall, but it sucks.
Yeah, but it sucks. So, all right. So let's jump into our slate for today. We got a whole lot of CW today. This is actually an entire TV show episode because we decided to hold off on our Spider-Man rewatch because some guy over here decided his numbers were off by one day. So it's all good. We will get to Spider-Man Homecoming next week, but today we got Legends mid-season finale. We got the Batwoman mid-season finale. We have The Flash Armageddon Part 3. Bebo Saves Christmas, Masters of the Universe Part 2. And we're going to, of course, talk about Hawkeye Episode 3, which has a lot of people talking for a whole lot of reasons. So we can't wait to get into that. But we're going to kick it off with DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Season 7, Episode 7, which, as I mentioned, was the mid-season finale because now they're on Christmas break. So, Jason, what do you got for us?
I think, again, great episode. Really enjoyed it. Bishop has joined the Legends, which I love. I hope he stays a legend because I've been saying how much I love that actor and that character since he debuted last season.
He's going on.
He's just funny. He's just really funny. And then Ava and Lance have to join the World War II workforce, the Rosie the Riveter section. Yes. And of course, Spooner and Astra are forced to clean up because they're not white. And the racism is actually a huge part of this episode.
Huge.
Because, Astra gets sick of the racism, and she actually winds up using her powers to sort of put it, like, freeze into place the boss, who was just a huge racist, who was like, you can't be here, you have to be down there cleaning whatever. And so they take over the factory, because they need to, in order to not mess up the timeline, they need to put that plane out that they're about to put out, but they also need to put out parts and create parts to make their time machine go. And so they have this whole thing, and Astra goes, I have a great idea. We're going to integrate this plant, which causes every white person who works there to leave.
Yeah, there's a total walkout.
And I think it was interesting because we always think of the 1940s and that time of like Rosie the Riveter as we're breaking barriers for sexism. But this show kind of shines a light on like, yeah, we were, but those people who were also like breaking barriers were still trying to hold barriers together for other people. So I thought that was an interesting commentary. So there's a Rosie the Riveter song, by the way. I didn't know that existed.
I didn't know that either.
I was surprised. And I'm a World War II buff. Like I've read about it, I've taken classes about it. No idea. So that's kind of that's the main story, and of course, like everyone walks, they have to get all of the people who have stayed to work overtime to create the plane, and they promise that they're going to push for the equality if they get the plane made, which they do. And then racist guy wakes up, and they invite Eleanor Roosevelt, and Eleanor Roosevelt makes everything okay.
Of course, naturally.
And, as well as she does. That's what Eleanor Roosevelt does. It's what she did for the country. What else? And then there's the secondary plot, which is Bishop, and Behrad is trying to teach Steele how to how to emulate the manners of a Persian family, because he's about to move into the totem with Flannel Zari's totem family. And he's sort of using Bishop, and Bishop is like a complete jerk, and he's taking advantage of him, and he winds up calling him out on it, and Bishop's like, yeah, you're right. Thanks for calling me out on it. Oh, by the way, I invented this thing that will help guide the time machine.
So he still did a good thing in the end.
He still did a good thing, and actually he saves the legends, because at some point the army comes, because not the army, but evil Gideon finds them and sends people, and Bishop actually does save the legends and gets them into the Wave Rider. So, I thought it was a great episode, super cool episode. I'm really excited to see where it's going, especially with Bishop as part of the cast.
So I see here, Jonathan's got a question regarding Bishop here. I love Bishop, but does anyone think he's dead? I don't think so. I didn't really take it like that.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, if he is, I missed something. I didn't catch it. Yeah. I thought he was okay by the end of that episode. But
I don't think he's necessarily dead.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows? Who knows? Legends,
time travel, whatever. Yeah. There's an android Bishop and everything like that. So, and we got real Bishop. So no, I'm gonna say no. Definitely, I don't think Bishop is necessarily dead. Another comment for Legends from Jonathan is they have to watch Bebo sometime this season. Yeah, he dropped a comment on our page because Jonathan professed his love on our Facebook page, saying how much he enjoyed Bebo Saves Christmas. That's going to be one of his Christmas movies going forward, and I thought that's awesome. I might throw it on. Who knows? Actually, Angie was in the middle of watching it last night, and we had to go walk the dogs, and she's got to finish it. So I'm probably going to end up watching Bebo Saves Christmas again after the show. But yeah, it would be. He was saying that he would like to see an Easter egg where somebody on the Legends is watching Bebo Saves Christmas.
I would love that. That would be awesome.
That'd be great. Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. Since we haven't really got a lot of Bebo in a while in Legends, like not this season, not last season.
Yeah, it's been a couple
of years. Yeah, so. It's also why I was kind of excited to see him get his own Christmas special. I was like, all right, well, for no Bebo to all Bebo.
Yeah, no, which was cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, so Legend. One thing I wanted to comment also about Legends was that airplane hangar that they were working in. That is totally the set that they use for the Hall of Justice on Flash. I'm sorry, like. You're not fooling anybody, guys. Like, I don't know if you were trying to or not, or with Legends, who they probably don't give a shit, but it's the same friggin' thing, like from the inside and not. And I'm going to have some things to say about the Hall of Justice in a second, because we spent a lot of time in there in this episode of The Flash. Hall of Justice is kind of empty for a superhero base, but
because they established it and then forgot about it.
Yeah, maybe they also forgot about it. I don't know. There's a couple of things that were forgotten about in Flash that I want to bring up in a minute. But yeah, so Legends is on break until mid-January is when they come back. So they're off for like about a month or so, a little over a month. And as well as Batwoman Season 3, Episode 7. So pretty much in this episode, we get a whole lot of Alice and Mary on the run and her development as the new Poison Ivy. Ryan and Marcus, we get a whole lot of Marcus, and I am curious to hear Jason's comments on what we're left with Marcus at the end of this episode, because I have a feeling it hits a little close to home with this one here.
I mean, I don't really have a very strong thoughts about it. Like he takes over the company. That's how it ends, right? Or
yeah, but I'm going to get to some details in a minute for what that was, and I'm I'm curious to know where they're going with this. It looks like they're going one way. The question is, are you going to dip your toe and screw around with it and go halfway in, or are you going to go fully in? So pretty much in the beginning of the episode, Ryan sells out Marcus in exchange for Jada making an antidote to cure Mary. That's how the whole thing kicks off. So Marcus is taken away, and then we'll get back to him in a minute. There's a doctor that is working for Jada that makes a reference to Swamp Thing, pretty much saying that, yeah. Go ahead.
I thought that was awesome, the Swamp Thing reference.
No, so did I. Yeah, so it's like, yes, that's a part of this. I guess that was on this Earth, because I was trying to remember at the end of Crisis, because I know they showed Swamp Thing, but I don't recall if they said he was on Earth Prime or not. But whatever, the way this works is supposed to be Swamp Thing. Earth Prime should have their own Swamp Thing anyway, at some point. But either way, this solidifies Swamp Thing does exist on Earth Prime, because that's where this show takes place. So Mary and Alice on the run, and they're in this bar for a while because they're trying to go ahead and Alice needs a blood transfusion. Pretty much she goes ahead and talks Mary into wiping out all the tracking devices and everything like that, the smart blood, which seems to be a common thing in a lot of shows and movies over the last some odd years, that they're using to track her. So it's just like, listen, they're going to keep finding us. If not, we got to get rid of this blood. So at first, they're wiping it on cars, that was they're throwing. I was like, really?
Is it if it's that easy for her to have avoided capture? Why didn't she just do that? Why didn't she just cut her hands and swipe a bunch of cars and then leave Gotham to begin with?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of goofy. I mean, whatever. She's writing things on cars, pretty much taunting Batwoman from while they're chasing her down. So Jonathan has a comment about the ending of Batwoman. I'm going to save that for a second. So they end up having to go ahead and they figure, screw it, we can't do the car thing because obviously Alice would die eventually if she had no more blood and it was splattered all over cars. So they need a blood transfusion, and she's type O. So they go to a bar and they start flirting with dudes to try to get somebody that has the same blood type. So comedy ensues, which I thought some of it was kind of funny, where they're badly flirting. And it's not like that wasn't the joke. The joke was that they were badly flirting with guys and like, yeah, you know what we find sexy?
Yeah.
Typo, blood types and stuff. And
the bartender has a great line. Like, can you take your vampire fetish somewhere else? You're freaking out my customers.
That's what I'm saying. I thought it was actually kind of funny. At first I thought it was goofy, and then it turned funny.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Because they called it out. Because I'm watching it going, in real life, if women were coming up to guys in bars going, what's your blood type? They'd be like, no, not even the horniest, stupidest of guys are going to fall for that.
No.
So it's funny that they were called out for it.
Yeah, I thought that was actually really funny. But during this whole thing, before they find the dude that they decide is the guy that they're going to, they find the right guy, Mary starts to develop her mind control power for Poison Ivy, and then she uses it on a bartender to get drinks and stuff like that, and to get shots. She tests it like that, and that's eventually how they find their guy, because they pretty much mind control him, and that is why this whole thing is happening, to make it easier for them to, to get through to that. Then there's a scene that was right after that where Marcus walks right into Wayne Tower and confronts Luke Fox. How bad is the security at Wayne Tower?
That was pretty bad. Like, especially because then Luke Fox calls security. They make a point that Marcus kills a security guard, which I thought was cool.
That was really cool.
They should have made it clear that Marcus fought his way in. There should have been something like a line like, what? I already took care of 3, you guys. Just something to let us know that he didn't just waltz in to Wayne.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty terrible. It's like, come on, this is fucking Wayne Tower. What are you guys doing here? I thought it would have been cooler if he would have fought. Maybe they don't mention that he fought his way in. And then when Luke tries to call security because Luke is banged up, suddenly no one's there. And maybe we had a quick shot of bodies laid. That would have been kind of cool. So pretty much we find out Marcus gets the antidote that was created through, we find out he was being tested on and frozen and stuff like that, and he fights his way out of it. And he has this whole thing where he tricks Jada into be like, oh, Mom, I'm sorry, and this and that. fights his way out, grabs the antidote. Sorry, that's when he takes it to Wayne Tower, and he uses it to blackmail, Ryan into pretty much saying, "Listen, you want this antidote, you want to save your friend, you're gonna have to sign over your company and resign." So she's put in a tough spot. She wants to, obviously, she wants to save Mary. That's what she's been doing this whole episode. And she ends up doing so. She ends up signing over Wayne Tower and, steps down as CEO.
Which I actually I do think it was believable because they made it clear that Mary had been ignored. Like, there were many moments where Batwoman herself could have avoided this outcome, but she wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the manifestation of the guilt there. Like, okay, yeah, I would do it. Whereas under normal circumstances, I don't think it would have been believable. But the show took some time to set that up. So kudos on the show.
Agreed. Totally agreed. So when they get the antidote, and there's a whole thing where she tries to encounter Mary and say, "Hey, listen, we got the cure. We're here to cure you." She pretty much tells her to go fuck off, and then destroys the antidote. So this was all for nothing now. She signed over Wayne Tower and everything for that, and then traps Batwoman, and she calls these vines out of the ground and stuff like that, and they completely tie her up. And then there's a scene where she's full on poison ivy after that, because there's a scene where they're in a hotel because her and Alice grab the hotel room, right? Because they're on a run. And Alice comes out of the bathroom in full poison ivy garb.
Yeah. Which I want to make a comment here that this show and Harley Quinn, the movies, have made me realize that I might have a Batman supervillain fetish, because I never found the character of Mary attractive until she put on that poison ivy outfit, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm into this. I'm in." And if you remember, I spent about 20 minutes on our Suicide Squad episodes talking about how beautiful I think not the actress Margot Robbie is, but the character Harley Quinn is. So I think I might have a little Batman villain fetish here going on.
Listen, it's fine. I mean, I don't think it's some of it's not probably intentional, by the creators and stuff like that.
Oh no, I mean, I'm sure they're looking to, make them sexy, but it's but I'm someone I never comment on sexual appeal in these movies or anything like that. It's not it's not something we usually discuss, but I realized for the second time I'm watching a woman in a Batman outfit going, "Oh wow, I've never seen her in that view before."
It's like, hey now.
Yeah, hey now.
She's got everyone's attention now. I mean, viewers and characters alike, and the characters in the show alike, because she's front and center. Even Alice is like, "Whoa," okay, you're full blown supervillain now, which I'm kind of curious to see how far they're going to push with that.
Yeah, me too, because she's not leaving the show, right?
No, she's not. No,
yeah,
not at all.
She's going to be redeemed at some points. I'm curious how this plays out.
So in that scene, though, she looks at the TV, and then we see what's going on otherwise, because she's looking at Marcus on TV, who's delivering this whole speech at Wayne Tower, announcing to the public and to the media that he is the new CEO, and he's says things along the lines of we're gonna put a smile on everyone's face. Everyone's gonna have so much more fun now. He's wearing an orange suit, and he has purple hair.
Okay, so that's what you were talking about. I had forgotten how deep it. Yeah. Here's the thing, I don't think we're ever going to see the Joker. Obviously, we've discussed this, and I don't think we should. I'd be okay if they do this right. And so far, I think they've made more good choices than bad this season. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think if they do this right, they could give us a really effective Joker 2.0 in Marcus. And I'm okay with that. Because I don't think we should see the Joker in this, because he's a Batman villain, not a Batwoman villain.
So do you think maybe there's too many 2.0 villains, though, at some point?
Again, it all depends on how it's done. So here's my thing. If we don't ever get to see the real Poison Ivy, yes, that's going to be one of my complaints, that we have too many 2.0 villains without any original villains. Because I think Poison Ivy is someone who could be done on this show, and they've put so much effort into setting up her relationship with Montoya and giving her emotional roots, pun intended, in the show, that I think it would be a disservice not to show her. but again, as I don't want to see the Joker, I'm okay with like a different, like, because the Joker's whole thing is he is the tails to Batman's heads, the two sides of the same coin. And so if they're trying to do that with Ryan and her brother, I think if done right, it could work. I don't want to see him become the actual Joker. I don't want to see him like go full face paint and everything. I wouldn't mind him doing things that are Joker-esque, like using the company to put a smile on people's faces. Like, I think if they do it right, it could work, and if they do it wrong, it could be disastrous.
I agree. I think this is the one time this season I feel like they're flirting with something that could be really goofy, and they've kind of moved away from that this year.
Yeah.
Or it could be awesome. I mean, I'm still on the fence of how I feel this is going to end. Or how this is going to play out. Yeah, I agreed. That's a perfect way to put it. I would like to see a little bit more.
Yeah.
We got some comments here from Jonathan regarding this. I'm not sure if I like the ending of Batwoman. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're kind of saying. Like, I think I like the statement of what they've made. It's just the whole Joker thing of like, where are they going with this? Like, is he going to create Smilex? And is he going to pass it through the city and stuff like that? I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that. What I would like to see is him doing his own version of Joker crimes, not revisiting old Joker crimes, but because I like the guy who plays Marcus. I think the guy's a very charismatic actor, and I like his role. I like what he's doing with that character. So if you give me his version of the Joker, but not like I'm creating Smilex, but like I'm doing whatever the hell I would do as the Joker, I think it could work. If they retread on the Joker stuff, I think that's where they're going to come into a problem.
Exactly. I agree. Maybe do his own thing, and they did lay the groundwork for his inspiration for it. So it's not like he just came completely out of left field with this whole thing.
Right.
And I guess there is some psychology there where the person who did this to him, he's the one who's kind of like inspired by that person.
Right. Because hopefully they explore this, but in comic book and in Joker lore in particular, like the way the Joker becomes a Joker is he's thrown by Batman in a lot of these histories into the acid and is a rebirth for him. So, one could make the argument that when the Joker puts that electrical buzzer to Marcus's head as a kid and messes up his brain and sort of turns him into a psychopath, that is his rebirth. So, I could see the connections. I think, again, if they do it right, it could go really well. And if this were happening last season, I'd be like all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But this season has engendered enough trust from me that I think I'm gonna hold off before I say how I feel until I see more.
Yeah, I agree. I just think this is definitely for me the first time where this season where I'm a little worried about where they're going to go with this, but you've gotten some of the benefit of the doubt so far because you've nailed everything, to both of our liking because they've won us over completely.
Yeah,
at the end of last season into this one.
Look, last season I thought was garbage, and this season I don't think I've disliked any episode. I think at worst it's been like it was okay.
Yeah, because the expectation for the show has been raised now.
And and I think we said on that episode, which was the one with the freeze technology, right? Yeah. That was the one that we were like, it was like if this was last season, we would have said this was the best episode of the season.
Yeah.
So, so again, the show's made some strides, and I think it's earned a little trust. So let's see where it goes, and hopefully it goes well.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, I've got Mary in the Poison Ivy.
Sure, you got poor Mary in Poison Ivy. That's a win also. Catwoman must be next. I don't know. I think they may have just marked on, like they commented on her bullwhip, which they said was made out of like indestructible technology or some crap like that, like 2 episodes ago.
Stuff or whatever.
Yeah, that one I'm not so sure we're going to see, but who knows? I mean, perhaps. I would like to see one of the OG Batman villains, though, show up, even though I feel like they've aged them out because it seems like none of them have been seen, and they keep saying like a decade.
Yeah.
So
you know who I think they should bring back, besides Poison Ivy, because I do think Poison Ivy should be an OG villain this season, but I also think they should bring the Riddler because they set him up.
Yeah. They
last
both
season.
Riddler mentions, yeah.
And that's a guy who doesn't need to be physically fit.
Yeah.
Because he's all about the brain. So if you give us like an older Riddler trying to sort of reclaim his victory over Batman through Batwoman, I think that would work.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan saying, he wants the Catwoman for you all.
Well, it goes without saying I'm attracted to Catwoman. I mean, geez, she's in a leather. In my head, she's Michelle Pfeiffer in her prime, and I'm a leather outfit.
That's great. Yeah, well, we can also see. Damn it, new actress playing in the Batman.
Oh, Kate
Kravitz.
Hathaway. Anne Hathaway, was that who it was?
No, Anne Hathaway was in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Oh, that's what I thought you were talking about. Sorry.
Zoe Kravitz is the current Selena Kyle that's going to be in the Batwoman in a few months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they always do pretty right when they cast Batwoman. I mean, Catwoman. I'll say that.
Yeah. I've never been unhappy with the actresses. I didn't love the characterization in The Dark Knight Rises, and we'll get to that when we get to that movie.
Yeah.
But I thought the actress was good.
Yeah, no, Anne Hathaway was really good. So, just didn't get enough time, I think, for development in that. But again, we'll save that because we're going to be doing a whole Batman rewatch leading up to the Batman.
I'm going to give you exactly how I feel about that Batman rewatch. We're going to start here really high for me with 66. We're going to go 89, and then we're going to go to Returns, and then we're going to go into that Joel Schumacher stuff, and it's going to be dark days, my friends. It's going to be dark for me. And then we're going to come back up to Batman Begins, and then things get much better.
Yes, they absolutely do.
It actually mirrors my Spider-Man thing, actually.
There's going to be a lot of similarities through those rewatches. I can promise you that. I would be shocked if there's not. So, a show that I'm really excited to talk about this week, for the first time in a long time, has been The Flash. Season 8, Episode 3. Which is Flash Armageddon Part 3, because the show is starting with a 5-part miniseries, if you want to say, or whatever. It seems to be kind of like contained.
Which was, I feel, smart, because The Flash is, my biggest problem with last season was they had half a season and then they did Crisis, which completely threw off, or whatever that the season Crisis was in. It completely threw off the rest of the season. So to start with your like Crisis event and then build a season around it, I think is smarter. Smart
move. I think so. And I'm curious to see how it connects to the rest of the season. Because I'm pretty sure after this they'll go on their hiatus, and then, because I haven't seen the schedule yet, but I'm sure they'll do their hiatus right after this 5-part miniseries, which is playing out a little bit differently than I thought it was. But let's get into that now. So the episode opens up where they're in this Hall of Justice.
And when we say they,
they say Barry Allen
and Black Lightning. Jefferson motherfucking Pierce in the house. I loved it, and I loved hearing him say his credo to him. You know,
man, that it was a huge thing for him. It was a huge thing for him to get Barry over. But when the show starts off, they're talking about the Injustice Protocol, which I thought was pretty damn awesome. Yeah. So pretty much the Injustice Protocol is if one of the members of because they still haven't named the team. They haven't said what it's called, even though we know what it's called.
Yeah.
They haven't said what it is, but they pretty much you got to strip the person of their powers. Whoever goes rogue, because Barry even says at one point that if one of them goes rogue, pretty much the world has no chance.
Yep.
Which, I can see that being a huge problem.
Yeah, and there's what's that comic movie, Doomsday, where Batman has the Injustice Protocols for all of them, and Vandal Savage steals it and puts it into effect.
It was Justice League Doom.
That was it. So that was kind of like I felt that they took kind of from that idea of but there's no Batman in this universe, so they have to do it for each other because they don't have a old paranoid rich white guy, to do it for them.
No, not at the moment. And their equivalent, which was Oliver Queen, sacrificed himself to save the universe. So
yes,
they don't really have that. But when we get to see the I think he's like dead. Yeah, but when we see the whole Justice, it looks like they really haven't done much in here. There's still the damn table with the chairs with the insignias on it.
There's a big thing of dust.
Yeah, it's like a dust. No one's been cleaning. You got the Eternal Fire there for Oliver Queen with his suit in a glass case. That's great. And there was a random Star Labs van in there, and that was about it. Yeah,
I was hoping to see the Thanos copter.
Yeah, it could have been. It would have been something more than they've been doing, because apparently no one's been using it since Crisis. So pretty much that's what they're working on. And then since Star Labs is out of the picture, Chester is building, and he says it out loud, which I thought was great. Pretty much Cerebro to enhance the powers of Cecile, and they also meet up with the villain Top. Who Cecile goes and finds in a bar to amplify their powers to try to go ahead and track down Barry, because no one knows where Barry is right now. He's kind of on the run. And then Iris's storyline in this was interesting, that she pretty much sees that Joe's death was a setup.
Yeah,
all along to push Barry.
She sees the footage. And there's a split second where Joe is about to be hit by the train and disappears, which I thought, brutal scene, by the way. Brutal scene to have us watch Joe, who at this point is my favorite character left on the show, be run over by a train.
Repeatedly. Because she goes to the train station, to try to find the footage. So they see some crazy things. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think we can agree Joe's not really dead, right?
I think they said he was supposed to be showing up periodically. I think he just wasn't going to be a regular on the show.
Okay, so I was right last season when I said that he was phasing out of the show.
Yeah, because remember him and he was one of the two leaving the show, and so was Cisco.
Well, I didn't realize he was leaving the show. I thought it was just Cisco and Wells was leaving the show.
I'm pretty sure Joe was leaving the show too, unless I'm mistaken. Maybe.
Everything last season telegraphed it, but I didn't see the announcement. So that when I watched, because I was behind last week, so I actually caught up, and I watched the reveal of Joe's death, and I went, wait, did I miss something?
Yeah, I thought that in the season premiere, I was like, wait a second, I don't remember Joe dying.
Yeah, I had the same reaction.
Yeah, so they put in this train thing, and it's a point of contention, because Iris is like, all right, we got to look into this. There's a chance he's alive. Cecile's like pretty much telling him, and she confesses she's been having a really tough time with the death of Joe. She mentions like waking up every day and wants him to be there and stuff like that. And then she talks about her daughter, who gets acknowledged for the first time in I felt like a couple of seasons.
I was actually going to text you while I was watching it until that moment. Hey, did they forget that Joe and Joe and what's her face have a daughter?
Cecile,
Cecile, because they never mentioned her, and then they mentioned her, and then I went, where is she now? Where is she right this second while you are all having this argument?
Kudos to Angie, because I swear I think every episode she brings up the daughter.
Good for her.
Has been missing every single week. She's like, babysitter left her home.
Right.
What are you guys doing?
Right.
And that's something I admit. There's times I totally forget about her.
I do too.
So because
the writers do.
Yeah, they do constantly. So there is that, and then while the whole Black Lightning is taking care, it's pretty much absorbing Barry's powers, and so he tells him like, listen, once I do this, no going back. That's it. And Barry's trying to convince him that this is the right thing to do. You have to do this. I'm not right and everything. And then, Jason, do you want to say what he uses to pretty much empower Barry?
But his mantra, right? Whose life is it? It's your life. Right, and how are you going to live it? I know I'm missing this.
By any means necessary.
By any means necessary. That's the payoff, and I love that he brings it in, because anyone who watched Black Lightning, that was a huge thing, and it wasn't a huge thing for Black Lightning. It was a huge thing for Jefferson Pierce. Which again, if anyone has listened to me gush about Black Lightning, it's my love for it is the fact that there was so much emphasis on Jefferson Pierce as not a superhero, but as a dad and a husband and a teacher and a mentor, and he used that to motivate his students. So to see him, and again, I'm a teacher, so like when I see a strong teacher figure motivating the youth, which is what he's doing to Barry what he did to his students, and he motivates him to take Barry to take control of his life, because Barry's given up. Barry's like, no, this, I forget the guy's name, but the alien who's trying to kill him is, that's it. He's right. I'm a menace. I have to be stopped. And Black Lightning really convinced him, no, the future isn't written. This is your life. Take control of it. Live by any means necessary, and make it what you want it to be. And that is how he inspires him.
And it's great. I'm glad that they brought that back, and it kind of works. But they also get into like a fight. We get a little Flash versus Black Lightning, which I thought was pretty cool. He goes in and wheels up some lightning and throws it at Black Lightning. He takes that shit, corrals it, and is like, here, you pretty much have this shit back.
It's like, what did you think was going to happen? My name is Black Lightning, and you're throwing lightning. It's in the fucking name, my dude.
Yes. Yeah, he really like shuts him down with that. I thought that was awesome. But then Despero tracks down Flash to the hall. He shows up, and then Dion, who was introduced earlier, reintroduced back into the episode, which made me cringe a little bit because I was trying to forget about last season, anything to do with it.
Yeah, but I do actually like the guy who plays Dion. So
yeah, no, I like him. I just was like, thought we were moving on from that.
Yeah, let's get away from all of that. But I think it made sense because he's been helping Iris, right? Because Iris was
treating her,
yeah. So I think that having him there to treat her and having that link, I think it made enough sense where I didn't like go, oh no,
Yeah, well, it wasn't total like cringe at all. So then, like you mentioned, Dion was treating Iris because Iris was like jumping through like the multiverse and stuff like that. It was kind of weird. So he stops treating her because he feels like she feels like that's inhibiting her at this point. But then Dion shows up and gets Flash out of there. So Despero doesn't pretty much track him down. He ends up jumping because he's Flash is a little depowered at this point. Because of the stuff that they were doing to try to depower him. Dion helps him, gives him some of the still force. I guess that's what they described it as. And he jumps to 2031, which is where Despero is from. And he shows up. He's like, all right, I'm going to try to figure out what the hell's going on. Dude, he sees Thawne. Right? We find E-Boy Thawne is back. And he's there, and he's like giving a speech. And he's there with Iris. And he's like talking about the love of his life and all this shit. He's surrounded by Alex, like the 2031 Alex Danvers. Thankfully, not in her suit.
Not David Bowie, Alex Danvers.
Yes, much better. Chester, Ryan, and others, and they're all pissed to see Barry. Like, what the hell is he doing here? And I thought that was pretty interesting. And that's kind of where the episode wraps up.
Yeah, I thought that was super cool. Not where I saw it going. Like, I actually thought Despero was the villain for most of this episode. I was like, you know what? I think Despero's doing this. He's got some plot. But then when you get to that end, exactly. John said the same thing. When you get to the end, it's like, oh no, we got Thawne back. And so happy to see the guy who plays Wells. I'm so happy to see that actor return for this.
Oh, me too. And I wanted some last year. We wanted more, Thawne. Flash stuff, and we got like some of it at times teased, but I feel like he's the one who's been behind this whole thing, and I'm gonna sure Despero was misunderstood and all this, and I'm curious to see where that goes because I'm wondering what's Thawne's crazy plan now. That he has into play and somehow tricked Despero into thinking that the Flash did all of this. So maybe there was like some shape shifting or something like that. Like he maybe was running around as Barry. Or some next level crap.
Right. Or even just using his powers. Like, you can't really see the Flash when he's moving. And we see the colors so we know who the speedster is. But I always kind of assume, like, I don't think the characters in the show see a red blur and a yellow blur. I think that's just for, us, the audience. Yeah. So he might have just been doing, like, crazy shit. And they just assumed it was the Flash because Thawne's supposed to be dead, right? Or gone, or like he's always something.
I feel Thawne's died like about 10 times on his show on Legends. So,
which to be honest, we know he's not really dead. But if you lived in that world and you're told Thawne is dead for the 37th time, you maybe accept it just because you don't want him really to be alive anymore. You know, I get why they would accept it.
It's a bit of a pain in the ass for a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll see what happens with that next week, as episode 4 will be airing, since they're currently the only CW show continuing to go right now. But CW did give us a bonus episode of something. We got Bebo Saves Christmas, which was the inspiration for our opening song.
Indeed.
Which, if you're unfamiliar with who Bebo is a character that was introduced on Legends of Tomorrow over the years. It was kind of like a running gag. I kind of felt like he was their Ghostbusters.
Slimer.
Slimer, or like Stay Puft Marshmallow.
Yes.
Because remember that one season where there's a huge Bebo that comes out?
I think season 3 or season 4 where they fight people in the Old West and they're fighting Damien Darko or whatever the hell Damien Darko is doing, and they conjure up the huge Bebo. It was awesome.
Yeah, he's like, oh, Bebo, loves hugs or whatever it is that he said. So we got these animated spin-off from Legends for Bebo Saves Christmas. So, Jason, what did you think of Bebo Saves Christmas?
I thought it was fun. I think I was expecting too much of it because it was a Legends spin-off. I thought it was going to be like crazy Legends stuff. No, I didn't think the Legends were going to be there. Yeah. But I thought it was going to be similar to the tone of the Legends episodes where craziness happens and everything, anything could happen. And it wasn't as crazy as I thought it would be, but I thought it was fun. I like the fact that it was a satire on the commercialism of Christmas, because the whole plot, I was taking notes because, we decided I was going to drive this one. And then I got 3 notes in. I'm like, this is a goddamn Christmas cartoon. I can do this from memory. I don't have to take notes. But the whole thing is Santa gets fired from the North Pole because it's acquired by an elf who wants to make Christmas more efficient. And Bebo is trying to save Christmas. And he's got a grumpy friend who wants to complain to Santa, and a friend who wants to get a gaming system for her kids, and a friend who's always on the phone. And Bebo keeps telling them, this is not what Christmas is. This is not what Christmas is. They find Santa working at a snowbox, right? Was it a snowbox?
It was a, snowbox.
Was it snowbox? Yes, I did write that.
Yeah, Santa's working there. And apparently Jack Frost is Employee of the Month every month.
Which is funny, which I thought was really funny. And pretty much they get Santa and break into the North Pole and convince the guy who took over that Christmas isn't about presents and commercialism and automation. It's about, love and the such. But then this is where it was really interesting. Bebo has a moment where he goes, wait a minute, the holiday is about whatever it is about for the individuals. So I've been sort of looking down on my friend who just wants this gaming system. And it's and she has a thing I'm made the most happy when I see my kids happy, and that's what makes them happy. And they all have a moment of this is what the holiday is for me. And then Bebo himself has the realization that, well, my vision of the holiday isn't everyone has their own interpretation of what a good holiday is. So I really, really dug the message. And I thought it was a fun thing. I think I just expected more of it.
I enjoyed it. I thought they nailed an interesting thing where it was I can see kids watching this, even though Legends is not really, I would say, for kids necessarily, but I can see a kid watching this. So you show it, let's just say you want to show it to your son one time, or whoever he watches, you want to share this with your kids. Kids would get a kick out of it. It's animated, it's fun. I think they have it's cute. I think it's a cute holiday special if that's what you need it to be. For fans like us, who are Legends fans and things like that, and obviously a bit older, you get the commercialism message. I thought was funny. The whole Bebo, and he's the pure at heart one who just wants hot chocolate and stuff like that. I'm like, that's awesome. That's great. Fun. But and I do like when he runs into these others like Turbo, who is the kind of like the mother of 3 who wants to he's got to get the gaming system and all this other crap, which thank God that's something I don't have to deal with at this very moment yet, because I could see people going crazy trying to get that new gaming system, PS5 or whatever it is. It's a pain in the ass.
I have some time with that with my son, but knowing me as his father, as big a gamer as I am, because I do still game, it's inevitable. Like he's going to reach a
course.
certain age, and I'm going to have to get him the best gaming system for Christmas. It's going to be miserable.
Oh, it made me flash back and think of all the crap that like my father used to have to go through with that kind of stuff, like Nintendo and PlayStation and Genesis and all this shit. I'm like, oh my god, that had to suck, man. And then so yeah, you got that, and she was there was also some interesting voices. You know, Ernie Hudson was Santa Claus.
What?
Ernie Hudson is the voice of Santa Claus.
I did not know that. That's awesome. I love Ernie Hudson.
Chris Kattan is Sparkles, who is the I guess the elf that took over the North Pole and kicked Santa out.
Okay. That was Chris Kattan. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't love him like I love Ernie Hudson, though.
No, but I was like, oh shit, Chris Kattan. I remember him from SNL.
Yeah. He's that guy.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Every time that song comes on, I have to do it in the car.
Yeah, of course. I've never even actually seen that episode of SNL. But I know like when that song comes on, I start Roxburying out.
Yeah, that and you got to see if you check that one out. Check out the skit too. When Jim Carrey hosted one time, he did it also. They revisited it. Awesome. I thought that was pretty fun.
I would actually like to see that because I think Jim Carrey is a master of physical comedy.
Oh, I love Jim Carrey still to this day. Tweebo is the one who's like about tweeting and stuff like that and her social media.
Yeah.
And I thought her message was interesting because as much as it was a commentary on like social media and stuff like that and people being obsessed with it and Instagram and all the other stuff, it was actually a heartfelt thing where she's like, yeah, I stay in touch with my family because I don't live near them anymore.
Yeah, I did like that. And again, I like that everyone had their very heartfelt reasoning for doing what they were doing that Bebo did not appreciate throughout and we were not supposed to appreciate throughout the show.
Not at all.
But yeah, when she says, that's how I keep in touch with my family. I don't live close to them. It's like, oh, wow, that's kind of sweet.
Yeah, I actually was like, oh, all right. So, yes, they're pretty much telling people this. Because there are people out there who are like, oh, social media is the devil, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah, it is what you make it.
Yeah, that's it. Look, I've been on Twitter a long time, and it was a devil for me for a long time. And then I stopped talking politics on there, and it's fine. Now I just get like me, Star Trek, and Doctor Who. It's great.
It's what you make of it, man. That's pretty much it. That's our heartfelt message on that.
Yes. The internet is what you make of it.
It's what you make of it, man. You want it to be a shitstorm, it'll be a shitstorm. If you want it to be fun, you can find shows like Granny's Peach Tea. You talk about comic book shit.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. This is a lot of fun. We're on Twitter. We were on Facebook.
Instagram, all of that. It's all good. But the Fleabo was like Oscar the Grouch.
Yeah, he absolutely was. And of course he was my favorite because he was like, I got complaints.
Yeah, exactly, in the suggestion box. So I thought that was cool. So yeah, I thought all of it was fun. And I always find it interesting when like animated cartoons and stuff like that, like this style, not like DC Universe and stuff like that, where they have to strike that balance and they drop in those adult jokes and things like that because they know adults are gonna have to watch this with their kids.
Yeah.
And like we got to throw them a bone here and there to like keep them entertained as well. And I feel like when we were kids, unfortunately our parents and stuff didn't have that because it was just like strictly commercial for kids. That's all it is, and that's it. Yeah.
There was a 22-minute commercial for toys with about 8 minutes of commercials for other toys. Like that's all it was.
Exactly.
And we're going to talk about He-Man soon. And
that was the segue.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, I stole your thing.
No. Go ahead. No, it's fine. No. That's fine. Go for it.
We're going to talk about He-Man soon. And, that's, I think, the biggest problem that people have with this new He-Man show is that they forget that this is adapted from a 22-minute cartoon commercial to sell He-Man action figures wrapped around 8 minutes of commercial to sell other action figures. And so when people are like, I gotta get more Teela. I don't want to see Teela's character. I got Prince Adam. I want He-Man. It's like, this is for adults. This wasn't made for kids where the other stuff was a commercial for kids. This is an actual show.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And that's kind of, it's funny, like, there's our segue. We are into Masters of the Universe Revelation Part 2, which, Jason, that's 100% because Kevin Smith and the creators got a shitload of backlash about the first part, and we talked about it on here. We both enjoyed it. because again, I think we looked a little bit more into the bigger picture of this whole thing, and we're in our generation, we grew up with He-Man, like, so I think we're pretty much the target audience for this show. And
absolutely. I watched it first run as a kid. I would race home from school and I would put He-Man on. I owned every one of these action figures. I owned, and I think I said this in the last one, but I owned Castle Grayskull. I owned Snake Mountain. And I owned something that maybe 6 people in this goddamn country did, which was like the Eternia playset, where it was the Tri-Castles, and you had to set up this like monorail that went around it. It was insane. Like, that's how big of a fan I was of this. So, I am completely the target audience for this.
Yeah, and likewise, I'd said it too. If you wanted to hear more about we did an entire Masters of the Universe episode, a couple months ago, in part 1 dropped. So if you want to hear more about that part of it, check that out, because we did wall to wall Masters of the Universe.
We did, and check it out
2,
for our reviews of some old Master of the Universe's cartoons. We didn't do it for here because we had so much going on, but we actually went back in that episode and looked at old He-Man cartoons and kind of reviewed them. So yeah, check this out. Check the backlog out.
Yeah, and ironically, the Christmas episode, which we're in around now, is He-Man and She-Ra Save Christmas. We had a blast with that, and also for the live action Masters of the Universe, which there was that as well. But there's also mentions of it in this episode, in this part 2 of Revelation. So I guess let's hit some of these points here, because there was 5 episodes. It's a super easy watch. If you haven't watched it, it's only 5 episodes. They're less than a half an hour each. I think the last one is about 31 minutes. So I watched it in one sitting too. It confirms that this whole thing, for me, the second half of this took a lot of chances with things, even though the first one did. But this one did, and it confirmed a lot of things that I think as adults we always assumed about Masters of the Universe. Confirming that Teela's parents, I know. I already know. I'm going to get to it in a quick second here. Confirms Teela, I know, because I know we're going to have a lot to talk about with that. Confirms that Teela's parents are who they are. They're Man-at-Arms and a sorcerer. So they pretty much ironclad. It opens up the first episode of this half of the season. And it confirms that Skeletor and Evil Lyn are banging.
They are getting it on.
All the way. It's just the way that they interact, and
it's crazy. It's crazy. They have some S&M play too going on, man. This is crazy.
Yeah, no, they do. The details of that, though, we'll get to in a second. But yeah, they confirmed all of that, Lenny and everything. So in the beginning of that, though, they introduced Fisto, who sees a huge Skeletor god, because at the end of the first half, Skeletor has the power. He has the big H on his chest and everything, and he essentially is He-Man as Skeletor. Skeletor is He-Man, and he's pretty much fucking everything up. The last we saw, he was about to kill Prince Adam and things like this. Or he did. He stabbed him through, and we thought he was dead again. But of course, we find out there's a way out of that, because, as we both know, there was no way you were going to kill He-Man or Prince Adam, so that's bullshit.
No, it's not happening.
But Fisto looks at this huge sky, and he's like, it's a big skeleton. He's like, quote, "I'd like to fist him."
And look, I'm gonna say this.
I thought it was hilarious, but go ahead.
Kevin Smith knew exactly what he was doing.
100%.
That was meant to be funny for us.
Yes.
Because there are lines in that old cartoon like, "I'm gonna fist,"
Yeah.
and that's his thing. He's got a metal fist and he does this.
Yes, he punches people and he does that. So I thought the wordplay was hilarious. Apparently Kevin Smith agreed, because I tweeted him about that on the day that I watched it when it dropped.
Really?
And he liked the comment.
Nice.
So I actually got Kevin Smith to like a tweet of mine, so I'm excited about that. I thought it was pretty funny.
And Dark, like, since we're talking about Fisto, I know I'm jumping ahead a bit, but like, we watched Fisto and another guy who I wasn't actually familiar with.
I remember the toy. I remember having the toy, and I couldn't remember his name at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure I had it.
He has like a claw.
But I had a ton of them. But
yeah,
like they get brutally murdered. Like,
oh yeah, they get brutally murdered, and he raises, and Skelegod raises the army of the dead and turns them into zombies.
and like they get brutally murdered by Prince Adam and Tila and the gang,
Yes.
and they have this moment. I thought this was super dark. Like, well, all right, we had to kill them. We had no choice. But at least, and Prince Adam's like, if I know anything about Preternia, they're going to be there right now. And Skeletor shows up like, no, they aren't. I've got them in my fist. I'm going to send them to hell. Like, that's dark, man.
It got seriously dark there, by the way. Tim, good afternoon, Tim. What's up? Thanks for jumping on with us. Yeah, so that's crazy. And then there's a whole thing where they're all trapped, and like Tila and all our heroes and Prince Adam and stuff like that. And pretty much Skeletor's talking a bunch of shit, and he's like, "Well, listen, and then Adam starts giggling.
Yeah.
At one point, It's just like, what the hell? And he has a great Mark Hamill line. By the way, he's like, wait, what's so funny? So that was great. Yeah. You got that. What are we laughing at here? And then he calls down the sword. He calls down the power. He's like, listen, the sword was only a conduit, but the spark's always been me. I thought that was badass. And then he pretty much calls, I have the power without the sword. We awesome. Get to see Savage He-Man.
Which and I like that is the consequences for calling the power without the conduit. You cannot control the warrior that you become. I thought that was such a really cool moment there.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. And he's just like wrecking shop because he's like a mindless, like, just brute there. And he's kicking a shit out of a bunch of people. And Skeletor's like, his main concern makes me laugh, though. His main concern was like, no, not that this huge hulking being is going to beat the crap out of me or anything like that, because he was going toe-to-toe with him, but couldn't control it. And he's like, how did you call down the power? Why do you have the power? I have the damn sword, man. What is this shit? Like, what the hell? Why are you so special and I'm not? And that was his, like, vain response to it, and I thought that was great. He's obsessed with it, like, almost the whole episode.
Yes.
Which ends up costing him big time. Yeah, and I thought it was an interesting thing. If you didn't watch the Netflix special, The Toys That Made Us, there was the Masters of the Universe episode, and they talk about the original version of He-Man, the concept, which was kind of like Savage He-Man. And I thought that was actually really cool. That was kind of like a nod to the OG.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
I thought so too, because the original He-Man was supposed to be Conan the Barbarian, right? Just a savage who goes around and helps people. And that's what this was. And I thought it was super cool too that like we spent some time with him, and he he traveled with them for a little while, and then the way he turns back I thought was brilliant.
No, go ahead. You can talk about that, because that was actually my next point.
So I think and the reason I want to talk about this because you kind of brought a tear to my eye, because they pretty much find King Randor and the Queen and where the Eternians have sort of retreated from, and He-Man sees him and recognizes him, and he goes to like just brutally kill him, because if you remember in the first episode it's set up that King Randor has always looked down on Prince Adam for not being the prince or the person or whatever that he wanted him to be, and so when he sees and he recognizes in the eyes, right? He recognizes this is my son, and he won't even as Savage He-Man's like drawing to kill him, he won't attack him, and he just keeps talking to him and saying, "I loved you, and I'm sorry I did this, and I should have recognized who you were." And he gives him a hug, and when he does that, he becomes Prince Adam again. And I thought it was a beautiful moment. I couldn't believe that I was like having a tear form in my eye over a goddamn He-Man cartoon.
Yeah, no, that was a really nice moment there, and it pretty much gets him to power down. And Adam is like, shit, I can't do that again. I can't become that again. And that plays a huge thing throughout the episode. But going on, though, there's some battles there. And then I guess let's turn our attention back to Skeletor, who has the power at the moment. And throughout the episode, though, it seems like Beastman and others are telling Evil Lynn, like, hey, you don't need this guy. He just cares about himself and blah, blah, blah. And it starts registering with her. Because
even Man-at-Arms tells her that.
Yeah, Man-at-Arms, who is... Yeah, that scene with Man-at-Arms when he's like... Because they have Man-at-Arms locked up at this point in like a prison. she's like really, her wordplay right there I thought was interesting. Calling him how he was, what did she say? Something around like him being like flaccid or something, and like there's a lot of like
it was a lot of like
demasculating comments.
Yes, yeah, we've neutered you, man at arms. You are no longer the man at arms.
Yeah, she's like really shitting on him right there, and he's just like, listen, well, you're just like a puppy. We're gonna run back to him and everything like that, and all this other stuff.
He has that really cutting line where he goes, "You don't think that this castle echoes? We all hear you. No one in this castle fears you. We all pity you." And it was like, oh, man at arms.
It's like zing, like he's really like driving it in there. And it gets her to start thinking. So then the moment that we referred to earlier is really in play now, where they're getting it on. So Evil Lynn decides to seduce Skeletor into powering down so she can take the power from him. So she's just like, listen, let's do what we used to do and blah, blah, blah. And that like, you're too powerful right now. Like we can't do it while you're in this state. So he chooses to depower to pretty much have sex with Evil Lynn. And she's like, gets on top of him and all this other stuff. Like things again, like I never in my wildest like mind would have ever thought I would see it in my life. But she gets the sword away from him. She kisses him too, and I'm starting to think like, how far are they going to go with this?
Yeah,
for a second.
Like, are we going to see Skeletor's boner? Pun intended.
Yes. Well played.
Thank you.
Through all the hairy underwear thing that they wear. I don't even know what you want to call that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It could have went pretty graphic. But she gets the sword away from him, and she calls down the power. It becomes like jacked, Evil Lynn. And she's like huge, and Skeletor's like, shit, I'm out of here. She's about to like whoop my ass now, and like, she's fully in control. And there's a whole thing where Skeletor goes ahead and pretty much runs to King Randor and everyone else, and finds Adam, and is like, listen, she's crazy. I can't believe I'm doing this. I need your help now.
And there was a great setup to that of like, well, you know what? We're going to have to do everything we can, accept help from anyone, even people we didn't think we needed or couldn't trust. And then open the door and it's Skeletor. And it's like, I'm here. It's like,
yeah.
And I literally went, oh my God, this is like the Christmas special where Skeletor helps He-Man and She-Ra save Christmas.
I was curious to see where they were going to go with that part of it, and that's what I thought of. Also, I thought of the Christmas special, and I was like, "Oh boy, we're back here again." But I thought another thing is that this part of the season, I guess we'll see if they keep going with this, or if this was just a one-off. They explore Evil Lynn's origin and her relationship with Skeletor, where they met, and apparently Evil Lynn's parents were going to fucking eat her.
Yes, which is crazy.
They were like starving, broke people, and they were about to eat her. And Skeletor essentially rescues her off the street because she's just kind of like running around and just trying to survive. And Skeletor saves her, and that's why she's like, like looks up to him and everything like that. And I guess they eventually, over years, formed, a sexual relationship, and it went somewhere totally different.
I think it's clear that she feels indebted to him, like because she says she hates him, she doesn't like him, but she feels indebted to him, and I think that is their relationship. Yeah,
it's kind of like I've said like for sports at times, this person's an asshole, but he's your asshole,
right?
So you kind of deal with it. You overlook some things, but he pushes her to the point where she's like, screw this, I got the power now. Fuck you, I don't need you anymore. I don't owe you anything, and that you're just a total douche. But it was like an abusive relationship that she was in with him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So then we see pretty much, I'm sorry, I was just going through, I think I had taken notes out of order a little bit here. So the sorceress dies at the hands of Skeletor.
Yes.
And that's a pretty brutal thing. And
that's how Evil Lynn gets the power. He makes her the sorceress, which also traps her in the castle. She can't actually leave the castle.
Yeah, that's a thing that's in play. And what does he call her? Like the Mistress of Magic or something like that? He gives her
like the Mistress of Electric or the mistress of the castle or something like
Yeah.
that.
So we see a lot of other things explored here, like the king and queen of Queen Elena. They're having like issues between each other, like marital issues over Adam's death. That's something that's been caused. And then King Randor lets Adam know pretty much. Oh, sorry, that was actually through the end that King Randor lets him know that he's proud of him. But there's this whole like final battle that we get to where everyone and their mother shows up from all the toys we've seen, like the was it Buzz Off? I saw in there too. The other guy with the like eagle wings and everything like that. Ran Man shows up. So we have the whole big battle at the end, and Skeletor ends up teaming up with He-Man, and actually he ends up becoming, he gets the sword back eventually. Which this is the part I was a little bit fuzzy about. So there's a whole battle that happens. Evil Lyn has the power. Tila ends up becoming the new sorcerer, and they're fighting this whole thing in the sky and everything like that. This huge battle, but Adam gets the sword back, calls down the power and everything like that. Battle Cat, the whole thing. We get the whole thing. He gives Skeletor the power as well and tells him like, I want you to know what it's like to be a hero, and have this whole thing. And they have that battle, but of course Skeletor turns on him eventually after all of it. And they have they have another battle between He-Man and Skeletor, both powered up at this time, which I thought was pretty cool. And this is the whole thing through the castle. And then we see Blade from the movie at one point. There was like Pigman. And it was another guy. There was like all these like Z-list Masters of the Universe villains there, which I thought was a kind of like cool nod. And it was the other villain that was in the movie, like the short dude who was annoying.
Villain?
Yeah. Like remember in the live action movie, they had Blade, who was the bald guy with the swords, and then it was that other guy who was there. I can't remember. We ripped him on the episode too. For why the hell he was there. They were like forgettable villains, but he's in the cartoon in this part.
I didn't even catch that one. The only two villains I remember that were not in the cartoon were the snake guy who gets killed, and Blade.
Yeah, well that dude was apparently in it as well. Scareglow shows up, and he goes at and is defeated by Orko because Orko, when Evil Lyn, her whole thing is she's like, screw this. This whole world is fucked up. I'm going to wipe everything out from existence. She raises the dead, but then ends up raising Orko by accident, who was killed in the first part. Saves the day.
I love the Lord of the Rings nod there because he's Orko the White. Like
yes. That was pretty cool. So yeah, Orko going from like goofy character sidekick guys essentially saves the day in this episode.
Yeah.
And then Queen Elena, during this whole crazy battle, she has a line where she drops "as if," which was kind of like a reference to Clueless for those fans who are there, because that's what's her name what's her name who was in Clueless,
Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah, she's the voice of Queen Elena.
Was she really? Oh shit!
Yeah, so that was kind of like a cool little Easter egg that's thrown in there. At the end of it, He-Man is Prince Adam powers down again. Everyone saves the day. That's a running through line through this, is that how Prince Adam is really a hero in his own right because he gives the power back. Unlike Skeletor and Evil Lyn, he doesn't hold it for himself. He depowers and goes to be his person. It kind of just shows that Adam is the hero. Like He-Man's his alter ego that he can fight physically, but he's really the guy.
Yeah, because the heroics in this is not in the power; it's in how you use the power. And so, Prince Adam, Man-at-Arms says Prince Adam only uses the power to help others. He never uses it for his own gain, whereas Skeletor and Evil Lyn do. So, yeah, that is the heroism is in how you wield that power.
Yeah, and so then we get an ending there, by the way, that sets up Hordak. Completely, because which, by the way, Hordak is mentioned a couple of times throughout this whole thing around Skeletor's origin, and then there's this whole motherboard that's there, and then we get to see is it Triclops his name is that has the whole thing, and we get to see that thing, and there's a motherboard that shows up and has the Hordak logo. So there is a setup for more Masters of the Universe for this.
I'm excited because I've always liked Hordak, but he was always a She-Ra villain, so I never got much of him in the He-Man world because I didn't watch She-Ra.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like I watched it at times because I was into the villains and stuff like that as a kid, and I think I got some of their toys or whatever, like Hordak and.
I had the whole Horde, and I had the Horde like castle. Like, it wasn't a castle; it was like a cave.
Yeah, I think it wasn't quite like Snake Mountain or anything like that. But we see in the Christmas special though. No, not in the Christmas special. In the intro to She-Ra, that Skeletor has a whole tied origin to Hordak. So that'll be interesting to see where that goes. But I think overall, I dug it. I definitely want to see some more Masters of the Universe, this iteration of it. I hope it's not like nixed because you got some of the crybaby fanboys who are like, whining it and calling it, oh, it's woke, it's this, it's that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, shut up. We're talking about adapting like you said, a 20-minute cartoon when we were kids, instead to actually give it some like levity and some meaning so the adults can actually watch it. And that's what I did, and I think they did it successfully. I thought it was cool. Yes, Teela gets, popped up and made a hero in this as well. So it's not just He-Man saving everyone's ass. Everyone else got to do shit too. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I did too. Again, this was taking the cartoon that we knew as a kid and making it for adults of our age because we're the audience.
I thought it was super, super successfully done. I definitely dug it. All right, so I guess let's get to the main events of this episode of Granny Speech Tea, which is Hawkeye episode 3. My favorite episode of the 3 that we've gotten so far. I can't believe we're halfway through Hawkeye already.
I know, it's crazy. It just started.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's only 6. I mean, I'm enjoying it, but this episode was a step up from episodes I already enjoyed. So I thought I thought that was pretty cool. And I guess let's talk about the opening. Hold on a second. Sorry. All right. My bad. Sorry about that. So the opening to this thing is it's got a lot of people talking. Okay. The opening to this it goes and it focuses on Echo's origin story back in 2007 when she was a child. And I actually want to say right off the bat, whoever the casting that Marvel did for a younger version of Echo was spot on. She looks exactly like the actress that we got.
I thought the same thing. I was like, Jesus, they might as well have plucked her from the timeline. You know, this could be the same woman. That is how good how good the casting was.
Yeah, and an origin that I really enjoyed though. It gives you a lot of background on the character. She's deaf, and she is going to school with like regular, like just a normal classroom and stuff like that. And we see that she's working through it. And even the teacher is kind of like, to pay attention and stuff, but she's reading lips and she's got it all down pat. And she has a conversation with her father that said that she's saying, I thought I was going to go to deaf school. And he's like, listen, I'm sorry, we can't afford it. We can't make that happen. But this is going to make you stronger in the end. You're going to have to live through 2 worlds here. And you're going to benefit from this. And then she asks us some interesting questions about like how does the sky sound? How does this sound? I thought it was kind of interesting where she's like asks him about dragons and dragons. This is 2007 MCU. Oh, dragons don't exist, and of course I'm thinking of Fing Fang Foom.
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
Like, soon enough,
they do.
Soon enough, my friend. Soon enough. So we see that, and then we see her she's older and she's learning how to fight. So she's learning how to fight there, and she goes through training, and a lot of her big thing is like her father tells her, for you, it's about speed. It's not necessarily about like brute strength and overpowering people and stuff like that. So she relearns how to read people's hands and move, and things like that before they're going to make their move, and she benefits from it. We also find out that her right leg, she has like a prosthetic right leg as well. So that's another thing that she's overcoming during these battles, and she's kicking some serious ass during these things in the ring and like sparring with others. And she even tells the guy, like, I'm seeing you. I'm seeing what you're doing before you're even doing it. So I thought that was actually pretty awesome. There we go.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, not a problem. But the main thing that's got a lot of people talking, Jason, is when she's a kid and she's in her martial arts class, and her father tells her, listen, Uncle's going to pick you up after class. And we talked about this in the last episode. In the comic books, Wilson Fisk is her adoptive father.
Yeah.
But this is while her father's still alive. And then we see a hand come in, very large hand, all black suit, and we get a laugh, like a giggle there. Jason, is there any question in your mind that this is Vincent D'Onofrio?
I want it to be, is the thing. And it's funny because Alex texted me right after, right? Like literally after I had seen this episode, he somehow knew that I had just finished it. He texted me like, have you seen Hawkeye? Do you think that's Kingpin? And I went, I hope it's Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. Like, yes. So I have a new rule. I call it the Mephisto rule of 2021, where I only make predictions about Mojo. So I'm not going to predict that it is Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin, but God, I want it to be so badly.
Do you think that the uncle is Mojo?
I think the uncle is Mojo, and I think Mojo has put this all together. Yes, absolutely.
All right, so I will go on a limb right here and say I think that's recognizable Vincent D'Onofrio's laugh.
I hope so.
I think this isn't Mephisto. This isn't Reed Richards. This isn't anything like that. Okay, I'm gonna say right now, that's Vincent D'Onofrio. I'm pretty sure that's his laugh. It sounds extremely familiar. I am going to be disappointed if it's not, but obviously I trust Marvel that they will find a way to pivot if they need to. I would be shocked if that's not him. Now, I think the question, though, besides that, let's just assume it is Vincent D'Onofrio. He's playing Wilson Fisk. Okay. The question I think that goes further than that, though, is he playing the same Kingpin and Wilson Fisk that we know from Daredevil?
Oh, that's a good point. Or he might not be
like J. Jonah Jameson,
right? Like it's the same character, but it's not the same character from the movie that he played or the show that he played. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. Again, I'd like it to be because I did really like that iteration of the Kingpin.
Yeah, me too.
But I also am at a point where I trust Marvel, and until they lose that trust, I can say what I hope and what I want, but if it's not that, it's not that. I'll just, that's what it is.
All right, so I'm going to go on a limb and say 100% Vincent D'Onofrio, 100% Wilson Fisk, and the Kingpin. The question, the one I'm not sure about is this the Kingpin that we got from the Netflix Daredevil series, or is it not, or is it just a newer version of him? And they're going to go from there. He has no history with Matt Murdock or Frank Castle or anything like that we saw before. I'm hoping to God it is, though, because I want those shows to be canon so bad.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because they were good. They were good.
Really
and
good.
If you make those shows canon, that means we have our Daredevil and we have our Punisher. And those are the two big things that the MCU fans are really salivating over seeing coming in.
Yeah, here's Alex commenting here. That's definitely Kingpin. No one else has that big of a body except for Ned Leeds. That's a fair point. I definitely do think it's Kingpin, though. Alex, I don't know if you did watch Daredevil or not when it was on Netflix, but you should. I highly recommend you check that out because that stuff is fantastic.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
All right, so there's also other things there because we see during a flashback too, where Fisk is referenced, goes where he's working, where Echo's father is working is Fat Man Auto, which is something that Spider-Man refers to Kingpin as constantly.
Yeah.
And we'll get to be other references there that kind of, for me, solidifies that it is Wilson Fisk. and they are going there. They're going to go all in. We also find out, because it's during a flashback where we find out that Ronan kills her father.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, in a raid where Ronan was taking down the underworld in New York City, and there you go. It leads to her total motivation right now of why she's obsessed with the Ronin suit and finding out who the hell that is, because she wants to avenge her father. It's pretty straightforward. And then it kind of goes to the tracksuits. Have Hawkeye, both Hawkeye. It's funny because in my notes I put Hawkeyes for Kate and Clint. So they're captured in a KB toy store, an abandoned KB toy store, and they're riding these like mechanical things, and that's pretty much what they're doing over and over again.
Like those things when you're a kid, you put the quarter in, it just goes da-da-da-da-da-da-da. They're tied up on these things, and the tracksuit mafia watch them going, "Come on, enjoy it more. We're trying to enjoy this too," which is really funny.
I was like, that's the way you're going to choose to torture them, is to have them ride these things over and over again. And you can even see Clint and Kate are just like, okay, what the hell are we doing here? So I thought that was pretty funny. But then an interesting thing where Echo interrogates Hawkeye. She shows up. Shit gets real serious there. And she's like, listen, she notices his hearing aid. And she's like, pretty much signing to him, you're relying too much on technology. Like, you might be better off without it. And his response being, well, kind of my weapons are 2 sticks and, and a bow and everything like that. I'm not really doing that. But I thought that was interesting, though, because she's like, listen, I fought for all this shit. I've overcame tons of stuff without it. You need to kind of like man up in a way and, and drop that thing. And she also is asking about Ronan and everything. And he tells her that Ronan's dead.
Yeah.
Why, who? And he says Black Widow took him out, who is also dead. And she calls bullshit on him, saying that's very convenient.
Although he isn't lying.
No, he's not.
Like, Ronan is dead. He will not put that suit on. He stopped that. And it was kind of Black Widow that snapped him out of it. And it was Endgame, right? When she gives her life. That's when Ronan dies. When Black Widow gives her life and takes him, sort of brings him back into the game and gives him his children back and his family back. Mm-hmm. So I do love that. Like, it sounds like absolute bullshit to them, but us as the audience know he is being 100% truthful without saying that I was Ronan.
Yeah, and he also says, like, I was there to see Black Widow did too, which we know that's really been something that was a hard moment for Clint that he's still dealing with at this point. And then Alex is commenting too. Kate Bishop really gives a free therapy session to one of the tracksuit guys.
I loved it was about Imagine Dragons.
Yes, like about the tickets for Christmas gift and Magic Dragons. For Alex, he says the best thing that happened in this episode by far. I think we got a lot of other things to go on here, but that was a pretty funny moment.
That was awesome. That was an awesome moment.
That was a pretty great moment. To drop into comedy here and there throughout the episode. So this whole thing, they escape. Clint goes ahead and escapes there too. This turns into a whole thing. There's a fight scene that goes on in this KB toy store where he has the bow and arrow and everything. He gets his gear back. I want to say is that I think that they got a chance for Hawkeye to show off his skills like we've hardly seen before in the MCU.
Agreed.
He's doing behind the back trick shots and stuff like that and really taking it to. And I think this was a cool moment to show it against the Tracksuit Mafia, because a lot of times we see Clint fighting like aliens, the Chitauri, superpowered beings. This is more his jam, really.
I think like Clint in the Avengers is really summed up best by his line in Age of Ultron. Yeah, there are aliens, and I have a bow and arrow. It doesn't make sense, but here we are. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, you're right. Yeah, just go with it. But you're 100% right. We actually get to see him be Hawkeye here, like, and do the cool Hawkeye comic book stuff that the fans know about, and the behind the shot, behind the back stuff, and he fires an arrow and he literally hits the tape that has got Kate and frees her and brings her into it. And then we get to see the trick arrows when they get into the car. Like, this is what we needed for the character of Hawkeye.
Yeah, and that's what I love about him getting his own show, because we're getting to show like why was he chosen to be an Avenger?
Right.
Why was all of this here? And I think this adds more to solidifying his character in the overall MCU with this. So he pretty much, like you said, he goes ahead and he gets all his arrows back, and then it turns into this whole chase scene. And there's a car chase that's a one-shot car chase that I think is cinematically is phenomenally filmed.
It's awesome, yeah. It's really awesome.
Yeah, the Tracksuit Mafia is chasing Kate and Clint down. Clint's, in a battle with Echo because they have a quick hand-to-hand fight. Clint's hearing aid is knocked out and it's damaged, so he's trying to communicate with Kate throughout most of the rest of the episode with a damaged hearing aid, and it's very interesting. It adds an interesting plot line through this, is that they're a lot of times on the same page, Kate
Yes.
and Clint, without even really knowing it. But now, once the hearing is gone, it plays this. So they have this whole thing. Clint's driving. Kate's got his bow and arrow, using all the trick arrows. By the way, the Tracksuit Mafia driving in this whole moving company, Trust a Bro, was hilarious.
Hysterical.
Oh, absolutely hilarious. So that's what they're hiding behind. They're in these vans, and Echo's got the Charger, the 72 Charger, chasing after them.
And there's a great moment too, because it does pay off at the end of this scene, where she wants to steal the Charger.
Yeah.
And Hawkeye's like, no, we're not breaking a nice 72 Charger. Get out of here. We're stealing this one.
Yeah,
and then at the end of this, it gets destroyed anyway. And he literally takes over and goes, the Charger got destroyed anyway.
Yeah. He was trying to protect it, man. It's a beautiful car. What are you going to do?
I love that.
So during this whole chase scene, though, we get to see, Clint's array of trick arrows, which was phenomenal. I had to make a list, a lot of them. There's a plunger arrow that we got at one point, which at first Kate feels is useless. Yes. And I thought that was great because in the comics, there's a plunger arrow as well. And I was waiting for the boxing glove one to come out at some point.
She speaks for the fans. I was waiting for the boxing glove too. But she speaks for the fans who aren't Hawkeye fanatics. Because look, I know Rick will tell us exactly 100 different ways the plunger arrow is useful. But like for non-Hawkeye lovers, it's like, plunger arrow, really?
Yeah.
So, but I love that she has that moment and then goes, oh, okay, I see it now.
Oh, yeah, when they're swinging later on. But there's a USB arrow, which I thought was interesting, though, because the Hawkeye that we see in What If has the USB arrow. I thought it was really cool.
I did think about that, too. That must have been a purposeful choice.
Yeah. We got a Putty Arrow, which has this, like, purple thing.
That was awesome. That was my favorite.
That one was great, and it's funny because Kate fires it at first because she doesn't know what the hell it is. And then Clint's like, oh, by the way, you should use that to hit the tires with. That'll take them out. And Albert goes, otherwise it's just blinding their windshield that's there. There's an acid arrow, which Clint advises to use it to take down the street lights, which I thought was pretty cool.
Awesome.
We got the USB arrow. We got these arrow that has a bunch of ropes and stuff like that pops out of it. There's an arrow that they use eventually at the end of their chase to swing around, and they end up jumping on a train, and that's where they reuse the plunger arrow. But the big arrow that gets, literally the big arrow that gets the big use here, they have a scene where we're on the Brooklyn Bridge, and they're fighting. The tracksuits have kind of got them pinned, and he tells Kate, fire the regular arrow up in the air, and I got this. He's got a Pimtech arrow, which I thought was phenomenal. I didn't see that
awesome.
coming.
That was awesome.
Yeah, so Clint,
because she fires it in the air, and then and it's a very Robin Hood moment too.
Yeah.
Because then he fires at her arrow, and it hits it, and it does its thing, but it also changes the trajectory of it.
And it turns huge.
And it becomes it's huge. And it was just such a cool moment.
I love that. It takes out their car. It takes out this whole shit. Helps them get away. So yeah, I think that whole chase scene was fantastic. So then they swing into a train, and they're on the train, and they're also communicating. And Clint actually has a huge moment of validation for Kate there. He's like, for someone who's that whole thing about you being one of the world's best archers, I'm not laughing anymore. You really weren't joking about that. And you can tell, like, she's like, oh, really? Like, I didn't know what I was doing out there.
Wow. Yeah. It's because this is her hero telling her, "You are actually amazing at this."
Yeah, and I thought that was great. It really
Great moment.
solidifies her there.
Great
And
moment.
it's a big moment. And then they have she's sitting there kind of talking to herself about how we should walk the dog and stuff like
I
that. And
love
he's like,
that.
"Oh, by the way, the dog's been alone. We should probably walk the dog."
What's wrong with the dog? And I love the fact that he can't hear. I actually really love one of my favorite scenes in this is when his son calls, which is
Oh, go ahead.
around
That's what I was
here.
going to get to next. Yeah.
Yeah. Because his son calls and he can't, and he thinks it's his wife because it's his wife's phone, and he can't hear. And then Kate is actually writing him notes, telling him it's a little boy. He says this, he says that, and it was I loved the moment because it was a touching father-son moment with Hawkeye and his son, but also it shows Kate Bishop really helping him in that moment. And so I thought so many good character things were done in that scene.
Yeah, I think that's a really like you said, yeah, that's a heartfelt moment there. And this episode really solidifies how much more in sync they are than I think they really thought they were previously, or at least Clint was trying to like downplay it with her. It's like, this kid, who the hell are you, and stuff like that. But then there's a moment where we meet the guy Kazi, right, who ends up who's a pretty big deal, and we'll get to that in a second. He's telling Echo, like, listen, tracksuits didn't learn ASL. We got to talk for a moment and stuff. And he's concerned, like, we should probably leave this whole Ronin shit alone. Like, we're supposed to be keeping a low profile, and Uncle is going to find out. He ain't going to be too pleased. And she's like, well, you can tell she's pissed because she really wants Ronin. And she's like, well, if this was my father, would you be questioning this so much? And, he kind of backs off for a second, but he's like, well, your father always put crew first. And, she's like, who's in charge? Remind me?
Yeah.
Again, he's like, you are, and kind of like punks him there for a minute. And then they move on. But then that scene with Clint and Kate, they pretty much grab some breakfast and stuff, and they have an interesting conversation where Clint is warning her about everything she could lose in this whole superhero thing.
Right. I love that. He's like, you want this, but have you thought about the consequences? Like, because he literally just, like, all his motivation for this whole show is he just wants to go home to his family for Christmas.
Yeah.
He just wants to be with his family, right? And he gets kind of sucked into the superhero stuff because of Kate, and she puts the Ronin suit on. We've all seen these episodes. But I love that he's having this moment, like, you will lose more than you will gain here. Trust me.
Yeah.
And I thought, again, this is Hawkeye the way we've needed to see Hawkeye. And I guess you couldn't without giving him his own movie, which wasn't going to happen because he's not that big of an Avenger.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we needed for this character because it really does flesh out a lot of, like, his motivations and what he wants and just this scene between them. Like, because he also has a moment where he's like, and I believe that this is the scene where he's like, I'm not a hero. And she's like, you literally left your family for Christmas to save someone who you never met because you knew they were in trouble. How are you not a hero?
Yeah, because he says, I'm not a role model.
That's it. Oh, another role model. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, he says, I'm not a role model. And she's kind of like, no, like, remember, to Kate, Clint is everything. Clint is her role model. Clint is like her hero and stuff. And she's met her hero and she's working. Now she's been validated by her hero as well. So there's an interesting thing. And then her response, though, of course, is like, well, some of the things you get are cool costumes and trick arrows and stuff. And he's like, oh, God.
I love that.
She still doesn't get it.
And she gives him, she, like, sketches out the costume.
She sketches out this Hawkeye costume right here of the shirt that I mentioned last week.
Nicely done. And she sketches it out and she goes, except, and it's in black and white, of course. She goes, except, picture it in purple. And I'm thinking, like, oh, that's brilliant. And Hawkeye's like, no, that's garbage. We're not doing that.
She's like, it's got a big H on the head, for Hawkeye and everything. And he's like, listen, I'm not doing that. But I thought it's also interesting, too, because he says, my whole job is to not be recognizable. I'm supposed to be like a ghost in and out here. Because remember, he was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I think we sometimes forget that this version of Hawkeye started off as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, not a superhero. So, whereas Hawkeye in the comic is a superhero, and I think he's a bit ostentatious,
Mhm.
this Hawkeye is not, because, the first time we see this guy is in one of the Thor movies, as a SHIELD agent. So,
Yeah, he's like in the shadows.
yeah, that's his thing.
Yeah, so, wow. So actually, Alex has a comment here. When Hawkeye killed Echo's father, I gave my full permission to kill him off if they want to in this series.
Wow.
Wow, Alex, that's a pretty big harsh.
Yeah, that's a bold statement. I can't get behind that one.
Nah, I can't really co-sign on that either. I don't think Clint Barton is going to die in the series, though. I don't foresee that happening. So he pretty much tells her at the end of it, because he's going to go pick up the check because all Kate's credit cards are canceled.
And I love that she asked him, can you get the check? My mom canceled my credit cards.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, and he was like, whatever. And he's like, you got to name this dog. So then the dog finally gets his name, Pizza Dog. She's going through a bunch of them, served dog of pizza and a couple other things. And she's like, Pizza Dog, and kind of feeds him. And I thought it was like a cute moment because that dog is nice. Absolutely adorable.
That dog is awesome.
Yeah, so they kind of go on a walk and they're talking about the guy. Clint's telling her, like, there's a guy above Echo. And, he's like, do you want to expand on it? He's like, no, not really. And he's like, all right, whatever. This is my partner now, I guess. I'm more warming up to the concept of it. And he's like a guy you don't want to mess with. He's going to do whatever it is. I think it's just, he knows, like, you don't mess with this guy. And I'm thinking along the lines, this is Wilson Fisk he's talking about. You're 100% right. He's dealt with him before. So there is that. Then Clint and Kate decide to break into her mom's penthouse because they're like, we got to get some more background on the Tracksuit Mafia. We got to find out. I'm sure her security system has that. So they break in. They're looking up Kazi, who, if you're a comic fan, you'll know Kazi in the comics is the clown in the MCU. Some have referred to him like, I don't think it's a great comparison saying he's like the Marvel's Joker, just because he wears clown makeup. I don't see that at all. He's not that level.
The Joker is a force of chaotic nature. Unless he is a force of chaotic nature, I don't care how many clown outfits he puts on.
Yeah, no, he's crazy and he kills people, but that doesn't make you equal to the Joker. No. That's a little obscene.
Because the Joker is not just crazy and kills people. Again, he is a force of chaotic nature. His whole point is to bring chaos to the order of the world, and Batman's whole thing is to bring order to the chaos. So, unless he does that, he's not.
Yes, I think it's just a bit of a stretch there. But so Clint goes ahead. While they're there, they're looking up for Kazi, and they're finding known associates and all of this other stuff. But then Clint hears something. He hears something's off. He's walking around the penthouse, and he gets the Ronin sword pulled on him by her stepfather, who also is we're pretty sure we're going to learn more about him. But in the comics, he's known as the Swordsman. That's why he has this whole collection of swords and things like that. It's kind of a bit of a Hawkeye fanboy.
Okay, is he a villain in the comic? Because I don't know Hawkeye lore. So is he a villain or a hero, or he's just like a collector?
He's I believe, if I'm correct, because I'm not going to say I'm not too. I've read some stuff up on this. He's pretty much like a Hawkeye kind of like fanboy, but is villainish. Doesn't think he is, of course, because a lot of villains don't think they are.
Of course.
Necessarily. That's kind of where he's at with that. And that's how the episode ends, on a cliffhanger. He's got Clint's got a sword to his throat.
And I was watching this episode, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a cliffhanger. Don't end here. Don't end here. And it did. I was like, God damn it. I want to know what happens now.
Son of a bitch. So that's where it's at with Hawkeye. They also have a trailer that they put out there for episode 4. And was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure he did. Hawkeye really did make a stuffed teddy bear and as a weapon. So I think the thing is they show somebody, and like Kate is like, who the hell is that? And it's somebody in night goggles, which some will know that like there is a Black Widow that's believed to be Yelena, who's tracking him down, as we saw at the end of the Black Widow post-credit scene. That's going to be her showing up in this, because remember, she's going to be after Clint also.
Yeah.
And it was a matter of time before we saw her.
It only makes sense for her to appear in this show.
Yeah, so we were all kind of waiting for that. So I guess in episode 4, we're going to be getting her arrival finally.
which I'm excited about because I like that actress. I really liked like the passing of the Black Widow. I think that movie was the passing of the torch.
Mm-hmm.
And he was Black Widow's best friend, and this is his sister who's trying to kill him. And there's going to be a lot of drama there. There's going to be a lot of conflict, and I think it's going to be really entertaining, not just to see them fight, but to see them square off and figure out each other. Because they're not going to remain enemies. I don't think like she's trying to kill him. No. That's not going to be forever. She's going to realize that this was like her sister's best friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
she's
going
to come out
to see that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, because the last time, no, it's fine. The last we saw, Val was pushing Yelena and gave the target to her, as Clint Barton, and saying, "Oh yeah, Clint's responsible for your sister's death." Obviously, she just was at her sister's grave, and she's gonna be furious and want to kill Clint. So
right.
Add this to the list of problems that Clint's dealing with right now.
Well, he got 99 problems.
Yeah, he sure does, man. He really sure does. Wow. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, listen, now we're getting to the tail end of it, so I'm sure, it's going to be a pretty wild ride for these final 3 episodes. And I think it's interesting that episode 6 of Hawkeye is supposed to drop the Wednesday after No Way Home comes out.
Interesting.
I don't think that's a mistake. That's when I think we're going to get the full-on Wilson Fisk reveal. Providing that Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox is in No Way Home and is Matt Murdock.
Wow, I didn't even think about that, but that would be huge. Like if we get confirmation that Matt Murdock is Charlie Cox and then get D'Onofrio Wilson Fisk in this, like that's Marvel going to a new level of
I agree.
Reveals.
Are you trying to say that Marvel Studios would be leveling up?
I think they would, in fact, be leveling up. Yes.
Shot of water for me because that's what I have at my desk right now.
Hey, at least there was no leveling up talk in that last Flash episode.
No, there wasn't. And I think one time they were talking around it but didn't use the term, and I'm like, oh, thank God.
Thankfully, because that was terrible.
Yeah, I can't think about that. One more comment from Alex before we sign off. That'll be crazy if we really get Kingpin and Daredevil screen time in 1 week. That's going to be that's my guess, is that it'll be in episode 6 of Hawkeye, if not episode 5, because episode 5 drops the day before Spider-Man No Way Home gets released. It's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, so we're probably not going to see him in the next episode, but they're going to wait because they have this shit lined up, man.
Because Spider-Man is not one of the movies that were pushed off, right? Like Doctor Strange was pushed out. There were a bunch of Marvel movies, but the Spider-Man movie was never pushed out for the opening, right?
No. I mean, it was delayed a couple of times, but I don't think that they reshuffled these things out of happenstance. They just kind of threw it out there. They strategically reschedule these things to make sure certain things are revealed. Okay. Kind of like Sony with Venom Let There Be Carnage.
Gotcha.
Knowing that had to drop before Spider-Man no matter what.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's right, because everything reshuffled, not just the movies, so that makes sense.
Yeah, the shows got reshuffled, everything got reshuffled, so. All right. Did you get a chance, by the way, before we sign off, though, I was curious to ask you, did you watch that Peacemaker trailer that dropped yesterday?
I watched a little bit of it. I liked it. I mean, I'm in. Again, I like that character. I like John Cena a lot. I'm in for it. Like even before I saw the trailer, I was in for it. Now I'm more in for it.
I'm pretty jacked up for it. That show. Just looks completely bonkers. I'm so glad James Gunn did the series as well, because I think we're going to get that type of a tone, and I can't wait. And for us, for our purposes of Granny's Peach Tea, we're getting it at a time. Actually, that's the same week all the CW stuff comes back.
That's gonna be a brutal week for us.
It's gonna be overload. We're gonna need to get a lot of time to watch all the content. But we love it. We enjoy it. We won't have an MCU show for a while.
Yeah. So that's it. So we'll be fine. Like we have weathered storms. We hit a lot of content. We figured it out.
Jason, oh darn, we have to watch comic book stuff.
Oh God, twist my arm.
Oh shit. But yeah, thanks for joining us this week. We really appreciate it. As always, even though our special time on a Saturday afternoon show, different change of pace here. We will be back next week. Which we're getting into it, man. This will be it. This will be the final theatrical Spider-Verse look into. We got the MCU lift. Those next 3 weeks, we're going to be talking Homecoming next week. Then we got Far From Home, and then it's here.
Yeah.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
And
the movie everyone's waiting for.
This, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time we're hitting an MCU movie that isn't new. The Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't think we've done an MCU movie that wasn't in the theater.
No, I think, you're correct. This is the first time we're going to do an MCU film that, this is it.
So this is our first, like we promised and we teased and we tortured you all a bit with making you watch the multiverse MCU stuff. but now here we are. We're actually getting to the deep dive into old MCU stuff because this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it thematically.
Yeah, because listen, if we did the MCU straight through, that's literally almost like a year.
That is, yeah. We
I don't think anyone would complain. We're not going to complain about it. But we've also had MCU content for shows, so things worked out.
Eternals, Shang-Chi, the new stuff. We've
Black
covered
Widow,
all the new stuff. But...
Loki, Hawkeye now, What If, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier. We've had tons of MCU coverage. But it's interesting. We've had tons of MCU coverage without actually touching the cinematic MCU like the previous ones.
Yeah, exactly.
We still found the way.
Exactly. We found a way. Like life in Jurassic Park, it finds a way.
It finds a way. Yeah, we just, that's it. We're inevitable. Exactly. So thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week. We'll have Spider-Man Homecoming next week, which I can't wait to rewatch again because I purposely not watched it for a little while, so I'd love to dive into that. We're going to have The Flash, Armageddon Part 4. So we'll see where that takes us. We'll probably get a whole bunch of E-Boy Thought action in there. And we're going to have episode 4 of Hawkeye. So can't wait for that. It'll be, and also, let's not forget, Hitmonkey.
Hitmonkey, yes, that's
Marvel's,
right. We are going to be doing
Hitmonkey
next week.
Yeah, that dropped on Hulu, which I'm currently 3 episodes in. This show's nuts, man.
It's crazy. I'm almost done
totally
with it. It's
nuts.
crazy. It's crazy.
I'm enjoying it. And first, a couple of reasons I can't wait to discuss it with you because I want to know some of your feelings on some of this. But if you haven't watched it, check out Hitmonkey, Marvel's Hitmonkey on Hulu, and join us next week. And we'll be discussing the whole season because they dropped it all at once. And that's that. So check out the other stuff. If you like what you heard today, join our Facebook group on Pop Culture Pros for Granny's Peach Tea. Check out the group for Pop Culture Pros themselves. You can go ahead and the mothership there, and the new show, the new show in town with Double O Deep Dive.
Double O Deep Dive, which we just did Casino Royale last week. It was myself, Ed, and Ginny, our co-host, who's been on this show before. Actually, a big success. We've got almost as many views for Double O Deep Dive as we did that week's Granny's Peach Tea, so it was a success.
It's been nice. And if you checked out Double O Deep Dive as well, thank you for that. We appreciate it and continue to do so. Because through the Bond franchise, you're going to have a whole lot of Double O Deep Dive coming your way.
That's right. Next week, we're doing, this Monday, 8:30, we're doing Quantum of Solace. Ed won't be able to join us, unfortunately, because he loves that movie so much.
I love it so much.
We will be doing Quantum of Solace, and Ed has promised he will watch it anyway and talk about it when he comes back the week after.
I'm not going to skip out on it. I will still watch the show. I will still watch the movie. It's fine. I'm gonna check it out. Maybe I'll like it more than I did last time. Who the hell knows? Maybe I was being a little too harsh on it. I don't know.
Can I tell you something? I had a nightmare last night where you and I had to do the show at noon, and I woke up at 2.
Oh, wow.
And I woke up late and joined, and you and Rick were doing this show, but I also had to do the Double O Deep Dive at the same time, but I hadn't watched Quantum of Solace. It was a terrible nightmare because I'm a logistic person, like at work. Like when logistics don't work, I freak out. And so this whole dream was about me screwing up all the logistics of these shows.
Jason, I'm going to take that as you. That just shows your love and your commitment to Granny's Peach Tea and Double O Deep Dive. So
it is my commitment. I do enjoy doing this, and I love being here.
Yeah, so check out Double O Deep Dive on Monday with Jason and Ginny, and I believe her husband is subbing in, right?
We have a special guest star. We're gonna have a special guest as many episodes as I can get, And our first special guest, we didn't have it in Casino Royale because I wanted to introduce the three of us, but our first special guest is Tom Harmon, which is Ginny's husband, who also has a lot to say about this, and apparently will be making fun of her for loving this movie so much.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that. So check that out. If you're into Star Wars, you can check out Shooting the Sith with Tim. If you also like some more of Tim and you like wrestling, you can check out Eric and Tim. And they will be they have the Just Too Sweet show. If you're into the New York Giants, check out also Tim with Faraci and the guys. They have the We Stomped You Out show, as well as Unsportsmanlike Conduct. So the pop culture pros, sports and movies and everything else are all coming your way at all times on an A to Z show. Eric does his own thing. I know they were talking about infomercials and stuff like that.
Oh, that's a lot
pretty
of fun.
Cool. Yeah,
he brought up Ron Popeil, which is my 90s hero.
That's the man. That is definitely the man of the 90s for infomercials go. So, all right, everyone, enjoy your weekend. Check out the stuff. Be safe out there, and we'll see you next week. All right? Peace.
Later.